Everyone, take your Bibles and turn to Ecclesiastes. And let's see, can you hand these out to everyone, please? I want to give you an outline. This is a very broad and general outline of what we'll look at over the next many weeks in Ecclesiastes. By no means is this all-encompassing about what we'll discuss, but I think it gives a good outline around Ecclesiastes. I got to tell you, I studied a lot this week, thinking about some of the comments you made yesterday. I spent a lot of time Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and many hours yesterday looking at Ecclesiastes. And I got to tell you, I feel woefully inept to convey all that Ecclesiastes is trying to share with us. I almost feel a little defeated on the front end that I can't fully convey all the truth that I believe Solomon is trying to show us about this life. Ecclesiastes deals very squarely with this life and how we live this life and the things that we find important in this life. This morning, I will have a very long introduction. I will give a very broad overview of the entire book, and then maybe the last 10 minutes or so, I'm going to start on verse 1 and verse 2, and then we're going to take it like we did Proverbs, verse by verse. I appreciate you putting up with me for many years in the book of Proverbs. It maybe did nothing for you. It did a lot for me. I love looking at the Bible in detail. I'm one of these guys that believe every word in the Bible is there for a specific reason. And it's incumbent upon me to really dive into those words. And I think even in verse 1, you'll see that there's much more to it than what we get in just a cursory reading of verse number 1. Ecclesiastes means this. I got to tell you, when for years I've thought that Ecclesiastes meant ecclesiastical, like a church together, and it does in a sense. It means a gathering, it means a teacher, it means preacher. And this book, the book of Ecclesiastes, is really in the form of an autobiography about the things that Solomon learned in his life, about the meaning of life and the best way to live. Do we want to live the best way that we can for God? I hope we do. Ecclesiastes shows us how we can do that. I love particular words. I've told you before, I enjoy words. That's a weird thing, I know, but words to me are very powerful. There's meaning behind words, and I particularly love the word vanity in Ecclesiastes. Do you have any idea what that means? I think we think of that being somebody being vain. That's not really the sense of the word. It really means a vapor, something that's just, there it goes, vanity. Or it could mean a breath. Some of ours smell better or worse than others. It could mean wind, just a quick wind. Things that we can't grab and hang on to. I love the fact that it gives these images to me to understand what truly is important in life. And I got to tell you, as I look at my life, I've focused on things that are not important at all. Linda and I were watching, and praise the Lord, she was watching the game with me, the University of Memphis football game. There have been times in my life when Memphis lost a football game or a basketball game, I was mad, and I would stay mad. I can't believe they did that. Vain, stupid. And I have a feeling, I'm not the only one, that we all have those areas of life where we cling to those vain things, those vapors of life, and it hurts and impacts our life. But Ecclesiastes tries to communicate that all of these things of life, wealth, wisdom, knowledge, joy, experiences, those things that we tend to pursue with all of our energy, with all of the vigor of life, with all the strength that we can muster, those things that are not in the end worth having, money and all those things, we think that those things will give us joy and happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment of life. I'm going to tell you right now, they don't. They are vapors. They are empty. They provide nothing that we think that they will provide. Solomon in Ecclesiastes says it's all like chasing the wind. It is all empty and fleeting in life. It is my grandfather. He was a jokester from the word go. It's sort of like Jeff chasing a bird. That's what the things that we chase in life are like that. My grandfather, I was about 4 or 5, he brought a salt shaker out and said, Jeff, here's a salt shaker, and if you put this on the bird's tail, you can capture it. Man, I'm 5 years old running all over the neighborhood, and I get real close and it fly away. Oh, my word. I look back, and I can remember it today. I was probably half a mile away. He was laughing so hard. That's us in life. I imagine God saying, Jeff, put the salt shaker up. Quit chasing those things. They're vain and empty. You can't catch them, and if you do, they're worth nothing in life. All of us have a salt shaker in our hand in some area of life. Or it's like me, my grandkids. I wish I had 40 grandkids. Love them. I can remember one of the grandchildren. I think it was Hannah. We bought her some of those bubble things, with that wand on it. And she would see those bubbles floating in the air, and she'd run and catch it and was so excited, and then poof, start crying. Just like the things that we chase, and we catch it and realize it doesn't give the joy and excitement and happiness and contentment that we thought it would. We're little kids chasing a bubble. That's what Ecclesiastes is telling us. And I pray that we listen. Today, I want to give an overview of the entire book. It'll be quick, but it will try to cover some major points. This is what Ecclesiastes will talk about over the next many weeks. The theme, morality. If this world needs anything today, it needs biblical morality. I am blown away by the immorality that I see all around us. I'm going to tell you, you can't even turn on a football game without seeing immorality. And our society is okay with it. Ecclesiastes speaks to immorality. It talks about time, the value of something that we waste a lot of. The ultimate commodity for us, time. Ecclesiastes will talk about that. It talks about folly and foolishness. And I wrote something, and I want to see if this resonates with you. Folly and foolishness describes us. It's the water table of human existence, which we all flow towards in all of our human endeavors, going to the least common denominator, if you will. It's where we naturally gravitate to. We find the path of least resistance in our life and in the decisions of our life, and we find the lowest ground. That's who I am, and that's who we are. Ecclesiastes speaks to that. Another theme of Ecclesiastes that we'll talk about is suffering. The Bible says man is born unto trouble. Don't think it unusual when you have problems. I'm 62, and it seems like from the day I was born that I can remember, there were problems. And I know this, already know it. I will have problems till the day I die. I should not let those problems determine my emotions, my attitude, and how I act, because they are coming, and they're going to continue to come, and you will have those as well. That's a theme of Ecclesiastes. Number 5. Ecclesiastes will talk about life, consciousness, and existence. It's the reason we are here, and it will talk about wisdom and knowledge. Who is the author of Ecclesiastes? How do you know that? How do you know? Where does it say that? Tell me, where does it say that? I believe it is too, but I'm just trying to see if you know why you believe what you believe. Look, David had many sons, right? That's exactly right. I think there's a number of things that would indicate that. I do not like reading people that describe themselves as experts in the Bible. They always try to find things that they can put wedges in, and they will tell you, we don't have any idea who the author of Ecclesiastes is. I believe it's Solomon for the things that you guys said. The preacher, the son of David, he was the king over Jerusalem, etc. I believe that's absolutely right. Here's the most important thing. God is the author, period. I don't care what human instrument he used. God is the one that ensured Ecclesiastes is in the canonized scripture so that we can understand what this life should be lived like. And make no mistake about it, Ecclesiastes is going to tell us how we should live this life. I have been saved for 53 years. I probably haven't heard, and I've been in church many decades, I probably haven't heard 5 sermons out of the book of Ecclesiastes. Have you heard many? And it is an important book. It will tell me how I should live. Solomon puts his teaching and his wisdom to work to show us what life is all about, why we're here, what is the main purpose of life. When I was in college, I had to study. I went to a secular school. I had to study some philosophers, and I would warn you, don't study them. Don't read about them. They're stupid. Nietzsche and Descartes and many others. And all of them, I've thought about them this week. All of those guys, they were trying to answer questions that Solomon answers in the book of Ecclesiastes. Why is man here? And what's his purpose? Guys, if you had just read Ecclesiastes, they would have seen why man is here and what our purpose is. Solomon acknowledges his perspective as he writes, and this is an important phrase in the book of Ecclesiastes. He acknowledges his perspective is limited to what happens under the sun. What does he mean by that? Does anybody have any idea? What does he mean by under the sun? Yes, sir. While you're alive, yeah, things that are happening here on earth. This is definitely a perspective about what goes on in the length of life, whether it's 20 years or 70 years or 90 years. This is what this book is about. It's about the sphere of existence that we can understand and know under the sun. I don't want to get really deep in this, and my brother Mike was telling me that his wife told him that you think a little different about things. I get that. Man, I think totally different about things. I'm listening to people talk sometimes. I'm thinking, man, that's way different than how I think. And as I studied this, I started thinking, under the sun, what does God really mean by that phrase? Who knows what two-dimensional seeing or thinking is in life? Two-dimensional, looking at a television, you see length and width. Three-dimensional is you see length and width and depth. That's how we see life. I can see somebody's tall and the depth of the vision. Four-dimensional, scientists say this, is physics-defying and godlike because it's not controlled by time or space or any of those things. Solomon's saying, everything I see here that I'm telling you about is three-dimensional. It's about life. It's not talking about the hereafter and what heaven's going to be like. I'm talking about what practical things that you will face are like today. It's three-dimensional. Is that weird? Okay, I didn't know if that would make sense or not. I'm sorry? I am the only one that thinks like that. That's probably the case. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Has anybody ever studied George Washington Carver? I think he was a saved man, a brilliant man. He was an inventor, a scientist, an agriculturalist. He invented and made over 300 uses for the peanut. Probably knew more about the peanut than any man walking. But I dare say, he did not know everything about the peanut because we are limited under the sun. No man can know it all. I don't care who you are. I believe when he went to heaven, I think he was saved. I believe God probably said, there were 300 more things I could have showed you that you didn't know about the peanut. And no matter what subject we look at, we can think, I have a doctorate degree and I'm smart. Well, you don't know it all, bud. You don't know it all. And that's what Solomon is saying here. He considers life within the experiences that he has from birth to death. Look at chapter 1, verse number 2, if you would, real fast, please. The book begins with vanity of vanities. What does vanity mean again? Vapors, breath, wind. It begins with vanity of vanities in chapter 1 and verse 2. It ends in chapter 12 with remember now thy God and fear God and keep his commandments. He starts at the beginning of the book with the foolishness of man and the things that we think are important in life. Let me name some of those things. I don't have a husband. I wish I had one. I don't have a wife. I wish I had one. I don't have enough money. I wish I had one. I need a bigger house, so I'll build a log cabin on 40 acres in Mississippi. It's the truth. Vanity of vanities. And all through there, he's working to a point in chapter 12. All that I've said, fear God, keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man. That's what he's trying to tell us. All the stuff in between. Man, I hope you guys early in life get this point and forget about the vanity, the vapors, the wind in life that we try to catch and the salt shaker on a bird's tail that we run after. Learn it early in life and don't wait till you're way over here to the end of life to learn it. This is a powerful, wonderful book. He examines what wisdom can do. Look at chapter 1, verse 13. Verse 13, and I gave my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. Wisdom is an important thing. Look at verse 16. I commune with mine own heart. Lo, I am come to great estate and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit. He wanted to understand, I am a wise man. Surely I can figure out this thing of life. Surely I can understand with the great wisdom that God has given me what is important in life and what I should do and how I can be happy in life, how I can be contented in life. And we're going to find out even that wisdom did not provide happiness and contentment. What did Solomon end up doing later in his life? Does anybody know? I'm sorry? Yeah, went after false gods. That's where man's wisdom will take us. I assure you that is the case. He looked hard and concluded that in human life, in this mode where we depend upon our own thinking and our own wisdom, ultimately it is meaningless, the things that we pursue. You tell me what is most important to you in life and what you're pursuing. If it is anything other than pursuing God and a relationship with Him, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be discontented. You are going to be discontented. There is nothing under the sun that is not vain other than the pursuit of God Almighty. And it is the truth. People may not like that. That may sound weird. That may sound odd thinking, but it is the truth in life. And I know you want to be happy. And I know you want to enjoy life. And that's the only place that it's available to us, is pursuing God, wanting a relationship with Him and keeping His commandments. Is there any wonder why this world is rampant in depression and anxiety and needing pills to get through life? It's because our focus is in the wrong place. Our focus is on the things that we desire in life and not what He desires for us in life. Then what does wisdom teach us? Solomon, I believe, was the wisest man, apart from Jesus Christ, that ever lived. But what does wisdom teach us? It teaches this: humans cannot, by all their striving, achieve anything under the sun that is ultimately enduring and significant apart from what we do and our relationship with the Lord. Nothing is what wisdom will teach us, and we'll see that's what it taught Solomon. All of our efforts are going nowhere apart from that. Our efforts cannot fundamentally change anything in this life. Look at chapter 1, verse 12 again. 12 through 15. I, the preacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. He's saying that the efforts that we give for these things in life are ultimately, we cannot impact them, and they have no long-lasting value. None. No long-lasting value. That is the teaching of Ecclesiastes, and I'm going to skip a lot just for time's sake. He also tells us that wisdom is better than folly. I'm not going to spend any time there. That's a very obvious point. He tells us wisdom cannot unravel all of life's disharmonies and anomalies. You know what? We wish that we were on a smooth path of life where there were no bumps, there were no hills, there were no potholes. We want it to be smooth with nothing in our way to stop me from being happy. Wisdom tells me we can't unravel the anomalies that will happen. You're going to fall into a pothole. You're going to hit a hill that you physically can't overcome by yourself. Wisdom shows us that. And I'm just skipping a lot, and I apologize because I have so much here. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go actually into verse number 1. To sum up, Ecclesiastes provides instructions on how to live meaningfully, purposefully, and joyfully within God's parameters. Are we going to listen? Meaningfully, purposefully, and joyfully within, there are things in life I have desired and wish that I could do. One of them, I would love to have played NBA basketball. But you know what? There was this thing called height, speed, ability that just didn't match up with that. Wisdom has to tell us that God has designed you for a specific thing. No matter what your desires are, wisdom will teach us that. Anyway, let's go to Proverbs or Ecclesiastes chapter 1. I hope some of that made sense. I probably had 25 more minutes of just an introduction, but I wanted to give you an overview of what Ecclesiastes' point is. It is one sermon. It's one discourse that the preacher's given. The whole 12 chapters is him telling people, listen, I've learned. I was wise early. I backslid on the Lord. I've repented. Let me tell you all that I've learned about this life. That's what Ecclesiastes is telling. Verse number 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. The preacher's sermon, one discourse that he's given us the importance of life. As I told you, he just was an apostate for a time in life, and he repented. But I think it's very interesting that he didn't call himself king. Why is that? Why did Solomon not say King Solomon? Let me tell you, why did he say preacher? I think there's more to it. Why didn't he say Jedediah, which he was called, or Lemuel? But he said preacher. I find this very interesting. He is telling us with that word the things that he has learned in this life. I think he saw this word as a word that signified what he thought were the most important things in life. Being king, he realized that's not the most important thing. A preacher, a messenger of God. I'm getting ready to tell you what I really have found to be the important thing of life. A preacher. An office of great honor. An office of great importance. And no longer was he looking for wives and concubines and cattle. He was looking at the souls of men by simply telling us that word, preacher. I found what is important in life. And it isn't all those other things that I've chased and gotten. A title, though king, and he didn't think this was distasteful for him to be called a preacher because it was speaking of the spiritually important things that he had discovered in life. He had chased the temporal for so long. He had chased all those things that we chase today. All those things. He realized that those things were not important. He had done the temporal and had enough of that. No more of the temporal. He further describes his dad, son of David. You know, I look at some of you guys here. I look at you, son of David, giving honor, giving honor to a man of God. You guys never cease to give honor the way Solomon is showing us and giving an example about his father. Give them honor. My dad was not always the best dad, but I have a responsibility to give him honor. Solomon saw that. Another one, he says, King of Jerusalem. Let me ask you a question. Why does he say King of Jerusalem and not King of Israel? It was not yet Judah and Israel. It was all one kingdom. Why does he say the preacher, son of David, King of Jerusalem? Do you find that odd? Why does he say that? Very interesting point, I think. Jerusalem, the city of wisdom. Jerusalem, the city of peace. The biblical name in Jerusalem, in the Hebrew original, means this: abode of peace, or teaching of peace. This is critical. This name is critical. He's telling us, I'm going to show you where peace resides. That's why he used Jerusalem. And if you'll listen, you will have peace in life. This is where it resides. Ecclesiastes is teaching us how to have peace in our very being. I'm going to ask a very pointed question. Do you, in your heart, have peace? Do you? I'm going to say, if you don't, what are you chasing? What are you chasing in life? King of Jerusalem. He's telling us with that one word what this is all about. I hope that makes sense. Jerusalem, the city where the temple stood, the city of God. It's where worship was performed. He's making a statement. I'm a preacher of God. I'm telling you how to have peace in life. Verse number 2. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. This is the preacher's text. And we get up there and Brother Mike will preach tonight. He will probably have a text verse. And last Wednesday, Brother Dennis preached, and he had a text verse. This is the text verse for Solomon as he unfolds what he's going to preach over the next few chapters. This is the theme and the subject, and he enlarges upon vanity of vanities. It's throughout the entire book. What does vanity of vanities mean? Vapor? Vapors? What does that mean? What is he trying to say? I told you earlier it means vapors and breath, things that are fleeting, things that are temporary. It's a puff. And those things are things that we continue to go after. But he's saying this. I think he repeats vanity of vanities for this reason, to confirm the point, to confirm it, because he knew that I wouldn't believe it. He knew that I would find a hard time swallowing the fact that I shouldn't go after what I want to go after in life. Isn't that what America's all about, by the way? We think it's pursuing our dreams. We hear that all the time. No. That's the way to disappointment in life. He knew that men wouldn't believe that, so he says, vanity of vanities. Don't go this route. Don't pursue those things. But he also knew this. He knew how much those things had impacted his life. And now he knows the truth at the end of the book. And he wants to tell everybody, I learned what it was all about. Please don't chase those things. I looked at some people that chased the things of this world. And I wonder where they're at today. The things of this world are fickle, they're fluid, they're transitory, and they're vanishing, and they're gone. Who knows who Commodore Vanderbilt is? Commodore Vanderbilt was at one time the richest man in America. Where is his money today? Who is that guy that's his great-great-grandson that's the CNN, the gray-haired guy that's a homosexual? No. Anderson Cooper. By the time it got to him, there was no more money left. Where'd it go? He spent his life pursuing that. Where did J. Pierpont Morgan's money go? His family has none. There's a corporation, J.P. Morgan Bank. His family has none of it. Where did Andrew Carnegie's family, what did he give to his family that they have today? Nothing. I'm talking about the wealthiest guys who spent their life chasing the vapors of life. Let me, somebody I was talking, who was I talking with? I think it was Jackson, about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And I told him it's generational. LeBron James is nowhere near the player that Michael Jordan was. But where did Michael Jordan's talents go? Is he the player today that he was then? Vapors, vanishing away. Where is the intellect of Albert Einstein? Do you see the things that we chase? And no matter where we attain to, eventually, they're gone. Where is the business acumen? And I'm going to say a name that probably nobody in here knows. Clarence Saunders. Does anybody know that name? See, this is a perfect example. Clarence Saunders. Has anybody ever been to the Pink Palace Museum in Memphis? He's the guy that built that because he was a wealthy businessman and never got to live in it because there it goes. He's the guy that started the grocery chain in the 30s, the early 20s, Piggly Wiggly, and it became a national chain. And he's the guy that invented that little thing we go to the grocery store now and go beep, 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 beep. He invented that in the 20s. Wealthy, wealthy man. If it happens to them, it will happen to me and you. This is what is vanity of vanities. We're dismissed.